Hi everyone. So today's video, I just want to cover the challenges around hiring subcontractors in a business. This is really relevant now because with the latest increases in employers' national insurance, the increases in national minimum wage, and also the new employee rights bill that's coming in over the next few weeks, a lot of business owners are thinking, actually, is employing staff still the right thing to do for them? And as an alternative, they're probably looking at getting subcontractors instead where they can. So what I want to do in today's video is just cover the pros and cons of getting the subcontractor. I've already covered the pros in that introduction, really. They don't have employee rights and that pay employers national insurance on them. And potentially you could even pay them less than minimum wage. But let's go. What I want to discuss here is really the considerations that need to be given. So the biggest challenge that a business might get if they hire subcontractors is a inquiry from HMRC, where HMRC will claim you're only hiring subcontractors to reduce your tax bill, and as a result, it is disguised employment. This video isn't about IR35, which is the legislation that covers this. It's a very extensive topic. By the way, I'm also not really referring to the construction industry here because they've got their own set of rules, and the construction industry's got certain conventions which don't really apply to a lot of other businesses. So I'm talking about your average business. Maybe it's service-based, maybe it's selling something and they have subcontractors in the business. So first thing is you got to address is the disguised employment claim by HMRC if they choose to make it. So in general, there's a few things you really want in place to avoid HMRC claiming disguised employment and then charging you for all that employer's national insurance that they're losing out on. And also, actually, if the subcontractor you've hired doesn't pay their tax and HMRC wants to make you responsible for not paying their tax, that can also be challenging. So you could end up with a very hefty tax bill plus penalties and interest. So we want to avoid that. So really, you've got to have a solid subcontractor agreement in place. And it's got to be crystal clear that this person is not an employee. I'm not a contract specialist, so definitely go to websites like kudos.com and have a look at the sample contracts they've got there and all of their guidance on IR35. But typically, that contract should have a few things. It should have the right to substitution. It should have the right for them to work in other businesses if they want. It should confirm the level of independence they get in the role, so they aren't caught by the direction, supervision, and control rules. So, as I said earlier in the video, IR35 is a very complex topic. It is worth doing a little bit of research about this because it is relevant to hiring self-employed people. If you are confident that person cannot be classified as a disguised employee, you're probably okay. The second challenge you will then have is if that subcontractor comes back and tries to claim that they're an employee. This is why a good quality contract will potentially protect you, and having the right working conditions and working practices will protect you. But once again, this is like a HR issue. It's an IR35 issue, but I wanted to cover this here because more and more business owners are thinking about it. So this isn't an extensive video on the topic. It is just letting you know these are the two issues. Once you get beyond that, you then need to make sure your insurance is appropriate and covers these subcontractors, because it doesn't automatically. And that is about it. But once again, IR35 is quite a complex thing. Definitely look into it. Talk to the right HR people to get the right contracts in place. But it's becoming more and more popular. The government's making it harder and more expensive to employ staff to do the right thing, actually, because employing staff is good for the economy. It gives them long-term security. It gives them better working conditions. But as the government's making it harder to do that, then, and actually, let's face it, none of the legislation the government's brought out prevents or covers self-employment, then actually self-employment is becoming a very attractive option for a lot of business owners who want to grow their team without growing their issues. And that's why you got to think about this. I do have a good article on this on our website anyway. It's worth checking that out. But this is pretty much it. Make sure they're not a disguised employee. Make sure they're covered by insurance. make sure they can't come back and claim that they were employee and employee rights retrospectively. And then you might just get away with it